Thanks to those joining me live and to those that'll be joining me and the rest of the panel here on Archive. I'm being joined by, well, this is the style, I'm being joined by G Funky, Christina Lopez, Christina Cruz, Maestro I, Milcar, Joe Habib from Race Reporter, and Dave from 408, the Shushan. How's it going, everybody? Make sure you throw a jab at my like button if you're listening to this on Archive. Share this on all your social media platform and comment on the comment section. Let us know what you think. We want to know what you have to say. This is the 12th edition of the Leave It in the Ring round table. All right, we're going to start off here with the first topic here with Valdez. Berchelt has been announced. This will be on the 20th of February. Big fight at 130 pounds. We should have gotten this fight, and this little thing, I don't know if you guys have heard about this thing called COVID happen, and like the fight didn't happen. You know what I mean? And then one of them got COVID, and then the fight didn't happen again. And then now we're really going to get it, like, for real this time. You know what I mean? And I heard they have vaccines out in Mexico, so they're going to need it. So we get it done. You know what I mean? Chief Funky, let's start with you. What's going on? Tell us how Berchelt is going to beat Valdez on that day.
Well, let's just hope that Berchelt doesn't go out and get COVID again to stall the fight, because we all know that he's scared of Valdez, all right? But no, this is going to be a great fight, man. I really do think that this could be kind of like a new Morales Barrera kind of thing, man. I really do think it could be something like that. Both of these guys very good. Berchelt very tough. We know he looks for the knockout, throws a lot of hard punches, and Valdez got some power too. Very technical. I like it. I like the way he fights. So I'm favoring Valdez. Everybody knows that already. I haven't got into my breakdown yet, but I think it's going to be a tremendous fight, man, and I can't wait.
You know what I love about the fight? The fact that it's two of the best, right? In the weight class fighting each other. Christine Lopez, Talos, man, what do you make of this announcement? It's the third attempt now to get this guy in the ring.
I think it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm totally about Berchelt. Jojo Diaz, yes, he's very talented. I think he's actually more technical than Berchelt, but Berchelt, he walks you down. His punches come from every direction. He has mega power, and he can take a shot, and I just think it's going to be his night.
All right, awesome. Milcar, what do you make of the news, man? Who do you have in that fight? Any early preview?
I think it's great news. I'm a big fan of Berchelt. I actually can relate a lot to that region. My granddad's from Quintana Roo, which is the bordering state, to Yucatan, which is where Berchelt is from. He's based in Merida, beautiful city, but I'll stick to boxing now. I think he's tough. I think he's definitely has a great chin. He's got underrated skills, because literally he goes through a lot of people. And I think this is going to be a fight where he actually gets to exhibit a lot of his boxing skills and technique, because he's going to be forced to do that. But at this point, I have Berchelt. Okay. And making her debut in the round table, Christina Cruz. Well, what do you make of the announcement of this fight?
Honestly, I really haven't been following the two. But you said the best fighting the best. Shakur is in that weight division, and I'm really excited for him to start stepping it up and fighting these kind of guys.
Well, actually, when Berchelt pulled out, it was because of COVID, G Funky, okay? But when he was forced, and Valdez was like, well, I'll still fight somebody. Shakur said, hey, I'll fight you right now. And Valdez did. I don't know if he wanted it or not, but the fight didn't happen. So yeah, you're right. Yeah. He does want to fight that level of opposition. Talk to me, Beeb. What do you think of the announcement of this fight?
I think it's a great style matchup because both guys are heavy-handed and both guys have skills. But the one thing I like about Berchelt is he's got a real heavy jab. And when he hits guys with that jab, he pushes them back. And he loves to slide in behind it. And he's a great inside fighter. That's what I love about him. He's so fluid on the inside, puts the shots together well. And he'll go to the body and land a beautiful body shot, and then he'll just flow right into an uppercut. He's just so fluid and accurate with the way he places his punches. And once he hurts you, he finishes you. So I think he's going to be the aggressor. Valdez is good. He's heavy-handed too, but sometimes he gets complacent in there and he lays back. And even though he's a small guy, he tends to fight on the outside a lot. So I like these kind of matchups. We have a guy who's trying to keep the guy at a distance, and you have the other guy trying to work his way in. It's kind of a chess match, but it also has a good ebb and flow to it. So you sit there saying to yourself, what's going to give? Is this guy going to keep at the end of his jab, keep on the outside, turn over the straight shots, or is the guy trying to work his way in going to get in there? And once he gets in there, is he going to grind him? Is he going to grind him down? So I think this has the recipe for outstanding excitement type fight, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right, and 408, talk to us, man. Well, what do you make of the announcement, and do you have any early prediction for us?
First of all, it's going to be a really, really exciting fight. But, out here in California, the last fight I got to go to in person was a top-ranked card where he was the headliner in last November of 2019. And Adam Blue Nose Lopez showed up as a replacement fighter coming up from 126. I literally was sitting with Adam Blue Nose's Lopez family. He was able to bring them all, and he scored an exciting knockdown. I don't think a lot of people saw that coming, and that made the fight really, really interesting and exciting. And it makes me kind of leery of how he's going to handle Berchelt's relentless pressure, relentless power. And I don't see this fight going so well for Valdez. I much rather would have preferred to see Jamel Herring against either of these people, or Shakur Stevenson getting a title shot at Top Rank.
Jamel Herring would not beat Berchelt, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I agree with you. I've got a little bit impartial because Mexican versus Mexican fight, but it will be exciting. I think you guys just mentioned it could be like Barrera Morales, and that's exciting. It's most definitely going to be an exciting matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be a great fight. A good tuna for Berchelt before he goes after the big fish, right?
Tuna.
The only thing he's tuning up is going to be his car, because he's going to get his ass tuned up, right?
Ain't gonna happen. Hey, yo, shout out to the chat. John Reyes, Black and Brown says HCP fire. Subscribe to Black and Brown Boxing here on YouTube. Okay, wearing the shirt, representing. You know what I mean? It should be great, man. We'll get, of course, the closer we get to the fight, the more we can assess it and all that good stuff. Ryan Garcia, formerly known as Lion Ryan, no longer Lion Ryan. He's graduated.
Lion Ryan.
All right. Ryan Garcia goes in there, gets a gold medalist, okay? And he gets knocked down. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people watching that fight live wondered, man, how is he going to overcome this? Because, it's in the middle of the round here. He got back up. He showed composure. And then eventually later on in the fight, knocked him out with a beautiful body shot, right? Christina Cruz, what did you make about Ryan Garcia's performance?
I think he did great, and I did expect that from him. A lot of people like to give him shit that he's a social media guy, but everyone needs to remember, before he was big on social media, he was an elite amateur. And so this is something that I expected from him. That hook to the body was beautiful. Looking at it, it tricked me. I thought it was going to go to the head because he loves to throw those hooks to the head, but he came right down, call him flush. Beautiful.
Beautiful hook. Definitely. Beeb, what did you make of his performance?
Well, it's not what people tell you are. It's who you choose. It's who you choose to be. And
I wonder where you got that from.
And one thing is, I was saying a lot of things before the fight, and I was one of those people who was telling him who he was, and he proved me wrong. A lot of times we look at flaws on fighters, but we tend to look at those flaws too much and we overlook their strengths. And one thing I said about Reynoso, and I wasn't high on Reynoso before the fight. I thought much too much emphasis was put on the fact that he's got Reynoso in there as his trainer. It's gonna change him and whatever. But this was a fight where I think they pulled it all together, and Reynoso's impact, I think, was very evident in this fight, and I'll explain why. Obviously, the glaring flaws are the defense, but sometimes when your offense is just so powerful and dominant and so effective that it could compensate for your defensive flaws. Felix Trinidad was a prime example of that. Like, he got hit, he got knocked down a lot, but he was just so good offensively that he was able to win fights because of that, despite getting knocked down and despite his defensive deficiencies. So what the Reynosos do, and I noticed they did this with Canelo, and we had this conversation before, was Canelo, his glaring weakness when he was at 154 and even at 160 a little bit was his pretty much at 154 mostly was his foot speed. So what I think the Reynosos do is they take your strengths and they magnify your strengths to overshadow your weaknesses. So Canelo was never going to be that fast guy. They never had him doing wind sprints. You know, they had him with the pool noodles. They had him moving his head. They taught him how to be more elusive, use a lot of upper body movement, because they knew he had quick hands and he was quick up top. So they utilized that. Showed him feints, how to feint your way in, and that way, you know, you can freeze your opponent, and then you have that extra time to slide inside and get your shots off. So it takes away from your foot speed weakness by adding and strengthening your strengths. So that's what I think they did with Garcia, because the old saying is a good, you know, your best defense is a good offense, and that is totally put on display with Ryan Garcia. So before I said that he was wide with that right hand, he would throw it looping, but he threw that right hand straight as an arrow against Campbell. The hook was shortened up, and you saw in the 5th round how short and crisp that left hook was. That hurt Luke Campbell. So they refined his offense. You know what I mean? They tightened up his hook. They straightened up his right hand, and he also had that little Canelo feint, you know, in the 7th round, which created that knockout with that left hook to the body. He feinted upstairs, get a little head and shoulder feint, and step in like that, like he was going to come upstairs, and he dropped the hook there. So what I think they've done was they said to themselves, we're never going to make this kid Sugar Ray Leonard. We're never going to make this kid Pernell Whitaker. We're never going to make this kid James Toney with the slick up body movement. So you know what we got to do? We got to make this guy relentless offensively. Because the better offensively that he is, and the more dominant he is offensively, and by enabling him to be able to put on that smart, aggressive pressure, by doing that, it takes away his opponent being able to throw punches. Because if you notice, because he was so aggressive and he was constantly pushing Campbell back, Campbell was constantly on the back foot, and he kept his hands in his pockets. He didn't wake up in the morning and say, hey, I'm not going to throw punches today. But when you have a guy like that coming at you, a guy who can counterpunch as well, because, again, he's a different type of counterpuncher. He's not that guy that will parry, catch and parry, slip and shoot. He's the type of guy where he keeps his hands high like this, he catches the shot, and when you're pulling your shot back, that's when he explodes with his shot. So you got a guy that's dangerous coming forward, you got a guy that's dangerous counterpunching, and you got a guy that can hurt you with either hand, and you got a guy that can create openings the way he can, then it's going to make guys who normally throw a lot of punches not want to throw a lot of punches. And if your opponent's not throwing a lot of punches, then guess what? That's less opportunities he has to hit you with. So that's where I think they did with him. I think they've enhanced and refined his offense, and it really, really compensates and makes up for some of these defensive flaws. And also, too, that punch that he got hit with was right on the point of the chin. That, you know, Luke Campbell may not be Mike Tyson. He may not be Gervonta Davis, but he's not Paulie Malignaggi either. In 20 victories, the guy's got 16 knockouts. He's definitely not a feather duster type puncher. So that was a punch where I was second guessing and questioning how Garcia was going to be when he got up. And I'll tell you one thing. He showed a lot of guts, determination, and heart. And to get up like that after being hit, where your head's being snapped back, you know that brainstem is being jarred from the brain. You know he was detached from his senses momentarily with that punch. For him to pop up like that and recover so quickly, that's not just physical, that's mental. You know, he wanted that fight bad. And you could tell he wanted that fight bad. And not only that, he's in phenomenal condition. So he shut me up and he impressed the hell out of me. And I think he's the second best lightweight in the world right now off that performance, to be honest with you.
You're on mute.
On mute.
So that's why y'all didn't laugh at my joke. I was like, "Hey, whoa,
Say it again.
You know what I said? Out of all the things he did, Beeb, all the things Ryan Garcia did, he didn't shut you up. That's one thing he did not do. You know what I mean? Hey, Milcar, talk to us, man. How'd your greatest performance, Ryan Garcia? Mute Club. First me, then him, right?
So was that for me, D-Style?
Yes.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Ryan Garcia, how'd you greatest performance and all that good stuff?
I thought it was a really good performance. I'd give him an A, maybe an A minus if I was grading him. I think it's Max Kellerman that says, stories of a fight and whatnot. I usually don't use that terminology, but I think in this case it was kind of appropriate. First round, I was very impressed by the fact that a guy who's a natural counterpuncher was actually walking down Campbell. At the same time, I was also impressed by Campbell's ability to utilize the first round to kind of gauge Garcia's timing, which I felt he did. And I felt that by the second round, he had kind of got his timing down. Now, Joe mentioned the feint at the end, and I thought that was excellent. Given how well Canelo feints, though, and uses head movement, personally, I'd hope Reynoso really works on that with him, because I feel like if he adds that to his game, that it's going to really enhance his performances. I felt that, like Joe, his biggest weakness is his defense. His chin is held high. He doesn't always protect it. He moves back in a straight line. He doesn't get his head offline very often. But I was also, to be honest, a little bit, as much as I was impressed by Garcia, I was a little bit, I don't want to say unimpressed or disappointed, but I felt like Shane McGuigan had planned for Campbell to constantly be defending the hook to the head. You could see from the opening round, his right hand was super high. All right, he'd be throwing it out there, right? Not just as a jab, but also as a kind of a defensive technique. He was using it to kind of keep Garcia guessing about throwing the hook to the head. But by the fifth and sixth round, he was starting to leave his body like wide open. And at that point, he wasn't able to use his feet to get out of range of the hook to the body like he was kind of doing early on. And by the time of the knockdown, his right rib cage, right, that rib cage that protects the liver, was totally open for a hook. And Garcia finished it beautifully. So I've got to do something, and I'm pretty sure Joe's got to do a little bit of this with me. But I think we both got to eat a little bit of crow right there, because we both felt that Campbell was going to win this fight, and we were both proven wrong. And for me, the main thing was his ability to get up after the shot. I think that's what impressed me the most. He went down and he came back, and he still maintained his aggressiveness for the most part. So congrats to Ryan Garcia. It was a hell of a performance.
Absolutely. Shout out to Afro-Rican. I appreciate the support, man. We got A-Rod in the chat, Chicano Prophet, James S., Phil Walker, all you guys, man. Shout out. Talk to us, Christine Lopez. What you make of his performance?
Well, I was blessed enough to be there in the third row, so I was really excited. I had done like a little 12-minute video, just kind of saying, who I was picking and why. I had Ryan Garcia winning, even though Luke Campbell is amazing. He can box. He has some power. But boxing is more than just technique. It's also mental, and he believes that he's a champion. He believes he can do it. He talks about God. He prays. So he's got this faith in himself. And so I knew things were going to be good. I have seen some improvement since he has been with Reynoso. But I also saw that after the first round and a few other rounds that he kind of went back to his old ways. As it was mentioned before, he does go straight back. He has his chin high. He follows. He doesn't cut off. So there's still a lot of room for improvement. But I think the bottom line was that Luke Campbell respected his power too much, and and why not? He hits really hard, but you have to hide that. The corner has to tell you to disguise that. You do other things. You give other instructions so that Ryan doesn't know that you're respecting his power. And he knew that he hit him hard, and he knew that he respected his power, so he went in for the kill. I think he did a great job. I think that he has to go back into the gym and work on some things, cutting off the ring, chin down, walking straight back, head on the line. But I think if he continues, he's going to be one of the greatest, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Chief Funky, talk to us, man. What you make of his performance? Do you feel any differently now? Have you watched it, etc.?
Oh, I've watched it a couple times. Actually, watched it twice after it was over live, just to kind of go back and check things out, see if I missed anything. I predicted Garcia to win my 9th round stoppage. I was just a couple rounds off, but I did get some questions answered. Things that we already knew about this kid: super fast hands. We knew he had good pop in those hands as well, but the head movement was something that I would like to see him improve on for sure. And just like Christine said, the footwork has got to improve too. Going straight backwards, that's a nightmare for when you start stepping up in class. I feel like the lead foot, he lost the battle of the front foot with Campbell, and that's what got him in a lot of trouble with getting him. He's getting hit with left hands like there was no tomorrow. The first 4 rounds of that fight. He just couldn't get out of the way of him. And the one that dropped him, again, he's leaning straight back, had both hands out, and he got clipped with the head real high. And it was a tremendous shot from Campbell, knocked him down. I actually had Campbell up at one point going into that last round, but Garcia was gaining momentum from round 5 and 6. I gave him those 2 rounds. You can kind of see that the tide was turning, the momentum was turning, and just like Joe Habib said, he got clipped with a left hook at the end of that 5th round, got hurt. Beautiful shot there by Garcia. But I would like to see the improvements instead of just trying to lean out of the way. He's doing a lot of leaning down, trying to get out of the way of the straight left hand of Campbell. They work on that, man. But he showed that he has heart. He showed that he's tough. He showed that he can carry his power. And, those are good things to have. And as a fighter, you get knocked down, hey, get up, keep fighting. And look what he did. He landed a tremendous body shot on Luke Campbell and put him down, and he just couldn't get up anymore, man. Let me tell you, those shots hurt badly, man. I remember sparring as a teenager, getting hit with body shots from these guys, man. It is no joke. So, I felt his pain with that one, but good performance, good fight from both guys. But, there is still some room to improve for Garcia, but I liked what I saw.
Absolutely. We down with HCP, says Afro Rican. Also, African, thank you for the support. He says, I love how Ryan was giving Campbell different looks with his lead hand. That's how, in my opinion, he set up the body shot. All right. Major Key says she made some great points, but missed one major key. Keep your foot on the outside when fighting opposite stance, or you become vulnerable to the power shot. A couple of things with that. I mean, look, I'm not disputing that, but there's different ways to fight southpaws. That's one way to fight a southpaw. But Christina, did you want to touch on that or elaborate on that?
Yeah, no, there's definitely different ways to fight a southpaw. You don't always have to keep your foot on the outside. Sometimes you can use it to your advantage and be on the inside, but you continue to pivot, you continue to move, you sidestep. There's so many things you can do. I did want to mention though, whenever Ryan was dropped and he came back, he said he was dizzy. But he recovered very quickly. That just shows me that he is working on drills in the gym. Reynosa is doing the drills. Christina knows that you work on drills. You get dizzy, then you have to punch again. You have to attack. So I could see that he definitely was working on those, because that was a good shot. He got hit right on the button. And if you're not trained to recover from being dizzy and just plant your feet and get back again, then you may not continue.
Absolutely.
Couple things about the whole left foot on the outside. Luke Campbell is a crafty guy as well, and he's moving, so he's not going to always give up that position. If he kept moving the whole fight, he didn't set his feet, so he's not going to sit there and allow you to set your feet. You know what I mean? So I think that's being blown out of proportion a little bit, because I don't think Campbell's being given enough credit for taking the angle away from Garcia. And not only that, Christine's 100% right, because when you're on the outside, it doesn't really matter if you have enough space between you and your opponent. It doesn't matter if your foot's on the outside. Really doesn't. That's for when you get into the mid range and you get up close. When you're on the outside, that doesn't really matter that much. I remember Emanuel Stewart. They were talking during an HBO broadcast, and I think Max was saying something to Emanuel Stewart about that. And Emanuel Stewart's like, that doesn't that doesn't matter that as much as you think it does. But he's kind of downplaying that. I think that gets just said a lot because it's just common speak in boxing, and I think it sometimes gets overstated. Yeah, it gets oversimplified and overstated sometimes. Because that. So you mean to tell me automatically if you have your foot on the outside of the southpaw's foot, then you're not going to get hit? No, you're not. You're still going to be vulnerable to the right hook. It doesn't matter, because you can make an argument that you'd be more vulnerable to the right hook that way. If the guy like Sergio Martinez, who had an awesome right hook, you know what I mean? So,
right.
Christina, did you want to add anything to that?
Yes, I wanted to add something on Campbell. A mistake that I think he did when he knocked him down, he did not take advantage of that. He kind of kept his cool and kept him at a distance. With Ryan Garcia, he's someone who fights off of his confidence. Once his confidence is up, he's going to be hard to beat. And what Campbell allowed him to regain his confidence.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's a great point. And the other thing too is Campbell had 0 shot in Dallas. It was Dallas, right? Yeah, Dallas.
Yes.
Winning on the scorecard. He just didn't. I mean, the scorecards after the fight showed you that he had no shot of winning on the scorecards. So I think you're absolutely right. He really should have gone for the kill when he had his chance. And you could see that by the end of the round, Ryan had got all his confidence back. By the time he was going back to his stool, he had regained it all. So yeah,
absolutely. Let's get 408 in here really quick. 408. What you make of the performance of Ryan Garcia and
I wasn't particularly kind to Ryan Garcia in 2020, but I'll definitely say I'd grade his performance a solid B. I was impressed to a degree, but more also along what you guys are recently bringing up, the fact that Luke Campbell didn't take advantage of what he did in the second round. This could have gone drastically differently. And although there's so many questions that have been answered, important questions, very important questions, right? Like his medal, and things like Victor Ortiz, a fighter like Victor Ortiz who had fought for Oscar De La Hoya, where he failed, where we saw him literally say after a fight, maybe this sport isn't for me. That was one of the most important questions that he answered. But at the same time, he's also brought up some new questions, in my opinion. And he's really particularly tall for his weight class, and he's so young that we know we're not going to see Ryan Garcia stay at lightweight. He's going to eventually move up to 140, and he'll eventually be a welterweight, just like Oscar De La Hoya, and maybe even 154. He has a long career ahead of him. So where does that question of his chin and his defensive flaws, where is that going to come into play down the line? I applaud him for having all the bravado and calling out Tank and everything that I saw today with Gervonta Tank Davis and Mike Tyson. They're making a lot of noise. There's no doubt Ryan Garcia is going to be probably one of the biggest earners in the sport of boxing in the next 5 to 10 years. There's no doubt about his earning potential and his star potential. But will his career mirror Oscar De La Hoya's, in the sense that Oscar, when he had these huge step-up fights, he lost? And not to take anything away from Oscar, a Hall of Fame boxer and a Hall of Fame promoter, but I think that's what we're probably going to see from from Ryan, but no doubt he is a star. And he's part of this new generation of fighters that's very, very exciting. And I applaud him for getting off the floor and finishing the fight with a devastating knockout. Hand speed, upper echelon, power, upper echelon. The chin is still a big question. And the question I have with his chin and his defensive flaws, I still find fighters like Jaime Munguia extremely entertaining. You know, I love fighters like that. So whether or not Ryan Garcia gets knocked out down the line by a fighter, if he puts on a performance like he did, I will still appreciate what he's bringing to the table as a boxing fan.
Yeah, absolutely. What we're going to do here is transition. We're still going to stay on Ryan Garcia, but as far as Ryan against the rest of the field, like who do you think Ryan fares well against? Whether it's somebody moving up from 130, 135. I'm gonna take it back to you, 408. Start us off with this one. What fighters do you see at 130 that can move up to fight him, or at 135 already that you think he fares very well against, and who do you think he doesn't fare very well against?
Well, I'm excited to see Shakur Stevenson's development, but I'd still like to see Shakur win a belt at 130 first. But I think I'm very much looking forward to Shakur Stevenson, what he does moving up to lightweight. Ryan fares well against all of them right now. I think most people, if you're big on social media, say he's not ready for Gervonta. But if he thinks he's ready for Gervonta and they want to push that fight for the fans, I love it. I love it because most of the complaints we have as boxing fans is that they don't make the big fights, that they over marinate them and that they make the fighters wait and wait. And from what it appears, they're ready to give this fight a green light. So if they want to fight next, Gervonta Davis, that's a great fight. He may have trouble. Maybe it's too quickly. But against the top four, Teofimo, all of those would be exciting, just really exciting matchups.
Okay. Chief Fucky, who do you think he fares well against, and who are some nightmare matchups for Ryan from the guys in those two weight classes?
I think the kid can fight with anybody, man. I really do. I think a lot of these guys, talent-wise, they're all around on the same level. Only one guy has really stepped up to the plate and started fighting some real dudes, and that's Teofimo Lopez. But as far as talent goes, I think they're all around the same. It's just a matter of seeing if you can take that to the next level up against good opposition. Now, Garcia, out of the rest of those guys, has been the only other guy to do that now with the Luke Campbell win. He just knocked out a guy who's never been stopped, who was a top 10 lightweight. So it's a step in the right direction for him, for sure. But I think he can hang with anybody, man. I really do.
Okay, all right. Christina Cruz, who are some matchups that you think will be bad for him, and some matchups that could be good for him?
So I think, like he said, he's up there with all of them. As far as fighting Gervonta, I think he is going to have to brush up on certain things that he didn't do against Campbell, with keeping his chin down, being flat-footed. Gervonta has that power, and it could be his downfall if Gervonta catches him with that shot.
Okay, all right. And Christine, who are some good matches from, bad matches from that you see?
I would like to see him fight Devin Haney next. I know he said he didn't want to. He wants Gervonta next. But I think, he needs to go back to the gym, work on some things, test it out, with Devin, and then fight Gervonta. And I'm sorry, I would do Tio like last. Tio is a different breed. He's a hard hitter. He's talented. He's got great footwork, great angles. That would definitely be a dream match for me, but later on.
All right. Cool. Milcar.
I mean, for me, this always comes down to risk versus reward. If I'm looking at it from like a manager's perspective, I definitely stay away from Teofimo, even though that might be a big money fight. I think there's equally as much money in the Gervonta Davis fight, which I see could be a winnable fight. I think it's probably 50-50 for me at this point, maybe a little bit more leaning towards Davis. I Probably stay away from Vasily Lomachenko if he's still fighting at 135. I've heard things about him moving down to 130. I've heard about him taking on Linares. That's kind of a higher risk, low reward fight, the way I'd see it. So really, I think that the fight for him is Haney, because Haney's also on DAZN. He's promoted by Matchroom. Like Golden Boy, they have a contract with DAZN. I think it brings him enough money to where it makes sense. He's the mandatory because he's the interim titleist with the WBC. But I definitely stay away from guys like Robert Easter, who I felt got a gift decision against, against mi negro caribeño or Javier Fortuna, who I think he's definitely got to stay away from, because that's a very high, low reward fight for anyone at 135, as much as I'd like to see him get a shot.
Yeah, shout out to Lawrence William on here, Mr. Boxing Today, Haplotype, Snacks B. All right, Major Key Boxing, all you guys, how you doing? Talk to us, B. But what are some good matchups for Ryan, in your opinion, and some bad matchups for Ryan?
I think the Haney fight is a great fight for Ryan, because Haney kind of lays back. He's not a huge puncher. I think Ryan can win rounds by just being the aggressor. I think the way Haney fought against Gamboa, I think he fought a little bit overly cautious in that fight for whatever reason. Haney, to me, seems like he's going to do just enough in the rounds to win the rounds and not much more. He's going to be a safety-first fighter. And Ryan, I think, can capitalize on Haney just staying on the back foot a little bit. He can win rounds just by moving forward, because Haney's not going to throw punches. And he could get the WBC title belt, and that would make a fight with Gervonta Davis more lucrative, even though Gervonta Davis has the WBA regular title. I think the WBC official title would make the fight a lot more lucrative, and it would just make the fight bigger, in my opinion. I love Tank, don't get me wrong, but I think everyone is looking at Tank, his power, and Tank's a great fighter. He's a very skilled, crafty guy, power both hands, very fast. He's a fluid combination puncher, places his shots well, and he can counter punch a bit too. He's crafty, he's good at throwing those little feints too. He can give you that little dip and then shoot the uppercut up, right through the guard when you're expecting something up top. But I think Ryan's size would really be a problem for Tank. I mean, he's going to be giving up 5 inches in height, 3 inches in reach, and Tanks really hasn't established himself at a lightweight. He's only had one fight at lightweight against Gamboa, and he didn't look great at in that fight. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, as hard as Tank is as a puncher, he's going to be reaching up at Ryan. And when you're reaching up at Ryan, I've said this several times, you lose leverage off your punch. Okay? It's not the same thing as shooting a punch straight or shooting down. So, as I said, Ryan's really good at keeping a guy at the end of his jab. He's really good at spacing. That's one thing we got to give him credit for. He's really good at spacing, and he's really good at gauging distance and knowing when to throw punches. Offensively, I think Ryan is excellent. He's outstanding offensively. You know what I mean? But Tank was getting touched up in that Santa Cruz fight. And Santa Cruz is not the fastest guy in the world. Okay? So I know Tank is going to be favored, and I understand why he should be favored. He's got more experience, whatever. He's probably got a slightly better record. I don't think his resume's off the charts either. But people are saying, he needs to stay away from Tank. He's not ready for Tank. I just don't think Tank's proven at lightweight. I really don't. And I just don't think Tank's had a great resume either. Even though I hold Leo Santa Cruz in high regard, and I thought Leo Santa Cruz would give Tank problems, I actually picked Leo Santa Cruz to beat Tank. But we have to call it for what it is. I mean, I think Ryan Garcia has a lot more natural physical abilities than Leo Santa Cruz. And then you add the size onto that. I think Ryan would beat Tank, but I think he would beat Haney easier and it would be for an official title. So I think you go for I would go for the Haney fight first and then fight Tank afterward. But the Tank fight, Tank's got 2.5 million Instagram followers. Ryan's got 8 million Instagram followers. I'm at my desk on Monday morning, and my coworker who never watches boxing turned over to me and said, "What do you think of that Garcia kid?" I said, "How do you know him?" I go, "How do you know him?" I said, "You don't watch boxing." He goes, "Yeah, but the guy's got 8 million Instagram followers. It's hard to not know who he is." So you got 8 million plus 2.5 million. You know what I mean? So that's just too much money to walk away from. So I could see either way. But if I was calling the shots in that camp, I would go for Haney first, get that WBC title, and then go for Tank. But then the other side of the coin is, what if Haney wins? Then that Tank fight's gone. So, you know what I'm saying? So, but I think that he would beat. I feel pretty confident he would beat Haney, but Tank, I think he would beat him too. But there's always that element of Tank's power. You know what I mean? Tank could still land. Tank could still land something. The chances of Haney knocking him out are much less than Tank knocking him out. So I would probably go with Haney first, then Tank afterwards.
Here's what I'll say. Keep him away from Teofimo Lopez. Keep him away from Lomachenko. Okay? He ain't ready for that. He just isn't. Right? I will put him in there with – what's that?
Oh, man, I'm just sorry to interrupt, but I just got to give credit to Nakatani, who made Lomachenko look quite average. Yeah, he didn't allow Lopez to look special. So Nakatani, just credit to how deep 135 is. You know, Nakatani, Javier Fortuna, these guys are on the edge of their contenders as well. Any of these guys.
Well, believe me, we're going to touch on 135 right now. But what I wanted to say is, look, all I got to tell you guys is, Chief Funky said, he could put him in there with anybody now. Okay, if you want to, but he ain't going to be no Teofimo Lopez. Okay, he ain't going to beat Lomachenko. He just isn't. All right. Tank Davis, he has a shot because he's a lot taller than Davis. Davis would have to move up. Davis only had one fight at 135, one real fight at 135. That's it. Okay, and he looks so good, and there's always that chance he comes in looking like shit again. Okay, in the weigh-in, like he did in some other fights. Okay. So I would keep him away from those guys. But the lower end of the top 10, and I agree about Fortuna. I don't know if you put it with Fortuna in there yet. Haney is a good fight. Haney has to outbox you for 12 rounds because he can't punch himself out of a paper bag. So I think there's not that danger there, in my opinion. Okay, and I think Garcia has a better shot against Haney. Plus, it's the fight that makes sense. Right now, they're both on the zone. It's not that hard to make it. You're both on the zone. You're both ranked in the WBC. It's basically right there in the silver platter to make it. I think that's a fight to make. As far as the guys moving up, I wouldn't mind seeing them in there with a Shakur Stevenson if he's still there when Shakur eventually moves up. I think by the time Shakur moves up, Ryan will be up there. And that's a potential super fight that no one's really talking about in the future. Another one is Berchelt. Berchelt's been talking about coming to 135. Imagine Berchelt against Ryan Garcia. Berchelt is hittable, and Garcia can crack, but so can Berchelt. The chin's in the air. That's a hell of a fight, too, because we know Berchelt's going to get past Valdez. Right, Chief Funky? But other than that, that's what we know.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And look, as soon as I spoke truth, we got to 30 once I spoke the truth. Look at this, okay? All you got to do is speak truth around here. But let's transition over to what 408 was talking about, right? The how deep this 130 division is. It's already deep, and we got dudes coming from 130 eventually, okay? 130 and 135, right? Think back like the original weight classes, you know what I mean? There was only 8. These 130 pounders would be lightweights. We were still in those days, right? Those guys are coming eventually, the Shakur Stevensons, Berchelt. How? If Valdez beats Berchelt, he'll be coming eventually, okay? This is a lot of talent. Jojo Diaz, he campaign at 135 at some point. Jamal Herring, who knows, right? We have a lot of talent there. Let's go over our top. You give me top 3. I'm just asking for your top 3, but if you want to, give me your top 5, okay? Top 3 lightweights in the world right now. Let me start. Teofimo Lopez, Lomachenko, Nakatani. Oh shit! No, Nakatani. I'll take that back. I don't want to say Fortuna. I know Milcar believes in Fortuna. Tank's not really there. I'm not that impressed with Devin Haney like that. You know what I mean? I'll probably have to say Ryan Garcia then. Okay, so there we go. Teofimo Lopez, Lomachenko, Ryan Garcia. Those are my three. All right. Milcar, give me your top 3 or 5.
All right. Well, I've got Teofimo Lopez as my number 1, definitely. My number 2, that's where it gets a little bit tricky because is Gervonta going to campaign at 135 or is he still at 130? I don't really know. It's kind of up in the air. I guess he's going to go wherever he gets the best fight. If we consider him a 135, I can kind of see that as a number 2. I definitely have Fortuna in my top 3. I feel like he's an undefeated lightweight. I might be in the minority.
Is he
here.
number 2? Is he number 2 to you?
You know what? I think Fortuna beats Tank Davis. I mean, I thought he beat Robert Easter. To me, he's undefeated.
What?
Yeah. I thought he did really well in that fight. I can go back and rewatch it. I mean, I've watched it once, then another time where, on YouTube or whatever. But I definitely felt he was hard done in that fight. He also had a point deducted. You guys remember for hitting Easter behind the head when Easter was kind of bending over against the ropes, which I felt was a bit harsh. But yeah, I mean those guys are in my top 3, and beyond that, it's kind of wide open because you've got obviously Ryan Garcia, and then you've got
I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but give me the list. Like, how is it ranked? How do you rank them?
1 through 3.
Yeah.
All right. So number 1, Teofimo. All right. Number 2, I'm actually going to put Fortuna. Number 3, I could go Tank Davis or Ryan Garcia, and
okay.
We'll see who wins that fight. I don't rank Haney. I mean, ooh. I'm sorry, but he struggled with a guy whose best days were at 126, who's older than me. He's 39 years old. He was on a bad Achilles, and he couldn't get him out of there. And he was short for 126 pounds, and he's fighting at 135. No. So we got to put him into the back. I don't really consider him a top 5, unfortunately.
Okay, all right. 408, talk to us, man. Your top 3, or you can give us your top 5 as well, however you want to go.
Yeah, I'll give you top 5. I'm going to go with Teofimo Lopez as number 1. That unification fight proved it, and until I see Loma lose, I'm going to still give him number 2. Then follow that by Tank Davis, just because I'm convinced Tank Davis's power is going to translate, and he's going to campaign at 135. I think he's going to be a big player at 135. I just think he just hits that hard. What he did to Homeboy was that was knockout of the year, just about. Then I have Ryan Garcia coming in at number 4, and Haney at number 5 for now.
Okay, all right, just like that. Christina Cruz, talk to us. Your top 3 or 5.
I'm gonna go with Tio. He's proven it. He beat the King Lomo. Second, I'm going with Lomo. Everyone kind of threw Lomo in the back after he lost. It was a close fight, and he just started a little too late. Still a great fighter. Still gonna destroy people in that division. Number 3, it's hard for me to pick number 3. If I could pick Shakur, I would, but I'm gonna go with Tank because of his power and his speed. I think he has it.
Okay, all right. And Christine Lopez, talk to us. What are your top 3, or you can give us your top 5?
I have Teofimo. I have Lomo. I have number 3 as Ryan and Gervonta, because everybody talks about Davis's power, but Ryan has hellacious power too. I mean, talk to his sparring partners. Even when he was in the amateurs, he's very heavy-handed. Those wiry kind of guys usually are, and so they're tied for me. I want to see what they're going to do in 2021. Well, Gervonta's going to do in 2021, where he's going to sit, where he's going to stay. And then, poor Devin. I don't have a 4 right now, but he's number 5.
Okay. Beeb, talk to us about your list. You're going to give us 3 or 5. It's up to you, but go ahead. Drop it.
Tiafimo, definitely number 1. Been impressed with Tiafimo for about 2 years now, and I've always said he was going to be great, and he is great. The whole thing with Loma is kind of weird because Loma's been complaining for like the last year now about how these guys are too big for him at lightweight, and that's why he's been having problems. He's admitted it before the Teofimo Lopez fight, and he's admitted it after. And he said that the size has been giving him problems. I think out of respect, I'll put Loma at 2, but I think Ryan could beat Loma as well. I think he has the ability to beat Loma as well, and I think the size would be a problem for Loma in that fight as well. I think Loma is starting to wear down. I think he's got a lot of miles on him. I think that long amateur career, coupled with some of these tough fights that he's had at lightweight, I think they've took their toll on him. He's had 2 surgeries on that same shoulder, so I don't know if I don't know if he comes back, if he's even going to be 100%. I have a hard time seeing a guy who's had 2 surgeries on the same shoulder, and had it injured twice. I don't think he's ever going to be 100% with that shoulder. So I think that's going to always be a problem for him moving forward in his career. Shoulder injuries are tough. You can get those surgeries, and the success rate with those surgeries aren't great. You know what I mean? They're hit or miss. So out of respect, I'll put him at number 2 because of what he's accomplished. And I'll put Ryan at number 3, even though I think Ryan could beat Lomachenko. The reason why I can't put Tank up there is because he's only had 1 fight against Gamboa, and he didn't even look great against that fight. And then if you want, the fight against Leo Santa Cruz, it was at 130, and he defended the 135 belt, coming in at 130. So I don't know. I don't think Tank is proven at all at lightweight. I mean, I think people are basing their opinion on what they think he can do at lightweight, but he hasn't done anything at lightweight. So I can't rank him in the top 3 at lightweight. Can't do it.
Well, there you go. All right. And G Funky, what's your list, man? Drop it. Drop the bomb.
Well, I mean, of course, I'm only going to do 3, but of course, everybody, you have to agree, Teofimo Lopez is a no doubt about it, number 1, the best lightweight in the world. There's nobody can say any different, okay? And if you do, you're just a straight hater or you just don't know nothing about boxing, straight up. Number 2, it's got to be Lomachenko. It has to be. As much as guys don't like him for whatever ESPN said about him or what Max Kellerman or Jim Lampley, so forth, look, the guy's he's the most proven guy. These other young guys, they're not proven yet. You want to go off of talent? If you're going to base your list off of talent, then that's fine. Whatever. You think these other guys are more talented, more skilled than him, that's your business. But my list, I go off of what I see in the ring. And for what I've seen in the ring, I think Lomachenko could beat a lot of these young dudes who haven't fought anybody. I think he beats a Devin Haney. I think he could beat a Ryan Garcia. I think he could beat Tank. Obviously, Tank ran from him at 130. So, Loma's a real dude, man. Let's stop that. I have him at number 2. And number 3, I have to put like I said earlier, out of all the young guys at 135, Ryan Garcia is the only other guy to step up to the plate and take on a legit top 10 guy. And Luke Campbell, and he stopped him. After getting dropped, he got up and stopped him. So that's my top 3 right there at 135, man.
Yo, this was Beeb and Amilcar to Tank Davis in that lightweight debut.
I'm very glad you won that fight, Matt, but I'm not impressed by your performance.
Was that David?
Anyway,
That must have been David Lemieux.
no, that was George St. Pierre.
Oh, my fault. I'm thinking about boxing.
It just kind of, you're not that far off. I mean, Canada.
Yeah, they're both from
I think they're from
Montreal.
the same area, yeah.
Yeah.
You got the accent right, that's for sure. Go ahead, Amilcar.
Nah, I mean, I just want to address the DR, and I don't mean the Dominican Republic. I'm talking about all the Loma Dick riders out there that keep mentioning the fact that like this weight issue is like some serious kind of issue. You know what really bugs me about that? None of these dudes were talking about that when Rigo, who's a natural 118 pounder, went to fight him at 130. No one said shit about that. No
Rigo
one
wasn't small then, yeah.
was clowning Rigo and talking shit about Rigo. Man loses at 135, a weight class where he held multiple world titles, and now he's no longer a real lightweight. Nah, you could miss me with that. And I gotta also agree with Joe about ranking Tank Davis at 135. It's difficult. The guy had one fight. It was against a former featherweight, again, super small, old. I mean, late 30s, whatever. That's old for a lightweight. And he was hobbling around on a bad leg for like 10 rounds, And then you look at the Santa Cruz victory. Again, Santa Cruz's best years are at 122. He's not even a legit 130 pounder. You could look at how he won that title. He wasn't like a legit 130 pound champion. And yes, he got rocked. Okay, a lot of people thought that was going to happen, but you doing that at 130 against a 122 pounder does not mean that you're like necessarily top tier again above guys like Javier Fortuna, who are natural 135 pounders and who have done all their business at 135. So that's what I wanted to say, D-Style.
Okay, no problem. Okay. Hey, I got to tell you, as far as, yes, we got Nakatani. He's definitely a dark horse in the division. We have Javier Fortuna. I don't have a number 2, but he's up there. You know what I mean? But what I will say about Lomachenko is this, okay? And I think people kind of confuse both things, It's completely possible to say some people got carried away with the Lomachenko hype, like when they said he's the greatest fighter they've ever seen. And, when I saw, like, Whitaker with my eyes and I saw Chavez in his prime, you know what I mean? It's quite a thing to say. But it's totally possible to say people over-exaggerated how good he is, to also acknowledging that he is a really good fighter. I mean, you don't dominate the amateurs like that, become a 2-time gold medalist just like that. You don't dominate Gary Russell in your 3rd fight. You don't beat Gary Russell if you ain't good. You know what I mean? So, like, he's a good fighter at the end of the day. Stylistically, I just think Teofimo Lopez is all wrong for him. That's all. Teofimo's a big lightweight who will eventually be fighting at 140 in the future, and Loma's a guy that is moving up. I just think stylistically, that's going to be an issue for him. But I do agree, Amilcar, that people celebrated the win over Rigo a little too much. You know what I mean? That was a case where he was outsized without a shadow of a doubt. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. Anybody have anything to add about 130 before we move to the next division?
Yeah, 130. Carl Frampton.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, start us with that 408. What's your top 3 or 5? 130.
Oh, God, 130. Now you're gonna put it like that. I won't place Jamel Herring. I think he's definitely the weakest.
I want to make sure we don't forget anybody, so I'll just put the names on the screen. You know what I mean? But go ahead.
Yeah. No. You mentioned. I think it's very possible Carl Frampton will beat Jamel Herring. I know that they want to get it on. They were talking about it since last November. But I'm very excited about that fight that we brought the show in with. Berchelt at number 1. Shakur Stevenson, although he has yet to win a championship. And Oscar Valdez is maybe he was a great featherweight. I'm not sure what. I like Jojo Diaz. I think he's going to surprise people this year. So I may put him at number 3.
Okay. All right. And Philly Irish Drew says he shut out Russell. I don't know if he shut him out. I remember Russell won at least 3-4 rounds. But it was a convincing win, though. I'll say that. Milcar, give me your top 3 or 5.
Well, before I get into that, I mean, I just wanted to Gary Russell a little bit. check out his interview with the brother from Showtime. I forgot his name. Custer, I think. Brian Custer.
Yes.
That's who he is. Yeah.
Yeah, he explained the conditions that he had going into that fight and the fact that he had to hit the sauna like 3 different times and he was under the weather and stuff. And I know it shouldn't have probably been a split decision, but to say that the guy was shut out is, I think, a little bit ridiculous. And I also think it's ridiculous that, you know, Lomachenko's crying all around for a rematch with Pale. Gary Russell's been screaming for a rematch with him for years, and he hasn't given him one. So I just wanted to say that. Also, the funny thing is I actually don't even disagree with the list that much as I see it. What I would probably do is question why Shakur Stevenson is so high and Chris Colbert is like way at the end. I've honestly been way more impressed with Chris Colbert's fights than I have with Shakur Stevenson. Again, I might be in the minority on that, but neither of them have a world title at 130. And Chris Colbert's been blasting out dudes. Shakur Stevenson last fight literally put me and my lady to sleep. You know, I honestly, that's the biggest thing I disagree with over here. But yeah, I don't have much of a problem at all with the top 3.
All right. Okay. So the way they have it there, that's how you got it?
I honestly, I think Frampton's best days were at 122, and he's like aged at this point. I could see him beating Herring, but I say that I think that says more about Herring than it does about Frampton. I'm not impressed by Herring at all.
Just so you don't leave him out, or what about Tank? Where do you put Tank at 130?
Yeah, right. We talk. Yeah, okay. So if we're talking about Tank, put him at number 2. Sorry, I forgot about Tank. Thanks for the reminder. Okay. So I got Berchelt, I got Tank, I got Diaz. I'm good with that list.
Okay, all right. G Funky, who are the top 3 or 5 in this weight class for you?
I'm gonna do 3, and I would probably pull Farmer out and put Valdez in. I mean, you could slide Herring in there too because he's got a belt, but that's what I would put there at 130. There's some good young talent there, though. I mean, the Foster kid looks good. Obviously, everybody's really high on Shakur Stevenson. Chris Colbert as well looks good. And but these guys, again, still pretty much unproven at that weight. You know, they got to get in there with somebody so we can see what it's really all about. You know, that's what I like to base my lists off, man. I need to see these guys in there with some real dudes before I start saying they're as good as the eye test says, you know?
All right. Christina Cruz, give me your top 3 or 5 at the 130.
I won't give you a top anything. I will just touch base on Herring and then Shakur. So with Herring, for as long as I've known him, even in the amateurs, he's always been someone that everyone has slept on and manages to win. It could be annoying to a lot of people because they don't like his style or they don't think he could punch his way out of a paper bag, but he always, with his maturity in the ring, he manages to pull off these fights. Shakur's my guy. He, to me, he's just on in a league of his own, and I'm just really excited for him to destroy these guys and then move up to 135 to really show what he's all about.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Well, there you go. Christine Lopez.
I have to agree.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, Berchelt, number 1. Absolutely, hands down. But I agree with Christina about Jamel. Ever since he changed coaches, he's been winning, and I've seen improvement in his footwork and him getting out of sticky situations. I was there when he fought Roach, and it was a great fight, and he got the win. So I have Berchelt, and then I have for my number 2, I have Joseph Diaz and Tank neck and neck. Just let's see what Tank's gonna do. And then I have Jamel number 3, Carl Frampton number 4, and then Shakur's 5 only because he needs some big fights. But I agree with her also. He is very talented. He's crafty. He can work angles. He's slick. He knows a lot of tricks in the ring. Very mature, and he has ring generalship. So Those are mine.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Let me tell you, man, Miguel Berchelt is definitely numero uno to me. Okay. Not only is he number one, he's numero uno as well. Okay. And if I knew how to speak French, I'd say it that way as well. Right. Man, it's I got to put Tank number two. Even though he's not on here for some reason, and I guess because nobody really knows where Tank is campaigning, you know what I mean? And I'll have to put, because he's that talented, I got to put Shakur Stevenson number three. Although I agree that, yes, of course, we got to wait for guys to prove themselves, et cetera, et cetera. But sometimes guys really are that good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like when I predicted here on YouTube that Ward was going to beat Kessler, and but the experience and who has Ward fought, and I just trusted my eyes. That's all. My lying eyes sometimes don't lie to me, and I think he's the boxer that people got to look out for, not Haney, in my opinion. Okay, Shakur Stevenson. All right, Shakur Stevenson is the one that really has a real amateur pedigree. Shakur Stevenson is the one who, in my opinion, I said on the roundtable 2-3 weeks ago, and I'll say it again. Right, his win over Joel Gonzalez is going to age well. Look at Joel Gonzalez just became a world champion. He dominated him, right? And all we heard was, it's because Joel didn't try or Stevenson didn't try. No, Joel did try. He just couldn't land on him. He hit him with 2 big hooks against the ropes, trying to knock the dude out. You know what I mean? But he couldn't quite do it, right? Just because he was just outclassed. That's all it was. We will see the best of Shakur when someone's put in front of him that is there to win. All right, that is there to get him off the pedestal, to defeat him. That's going in there with the mentality to win. Right, Berchelt's that guy. Okay, Berchelt will beat Oscar Valdez. All right, and then we will get that fight with Shakur Stevenson. That's the guy Shakur Stevenson's calling out. You know what I mean? So Berchelt against, Shakur Stevenson is the fight to look out for later in the year. Imagine we get that fight later in 2021. That's the fight to look for, and that's the guy that's going to come forward. That's the guy that's going to pressure Shakur, and it's going to make Shakur, right, fight more offensively than we're used to. And I think that's how it goes. Chris Colbert, I'm not, counting him out either. He's just not quite in my top 3. That's all. You know what I mean? And speaking of Gary Russell, I hope he moves up, man. There's a lot of smoke here. There's a lot of guys to fight in his weight class. He's saying he can't get fights. Dude, it's time to move up then. You lost to Lomachenko all those years ago. Loma's already at 135. Step up. You say you want to fight Loma again. Well, you move up. We got some fights here for him as well. Join the mix. You know what I mean? Beeb, give me your top 3, man, in this weight class.
I got to go with Berchelt, and I got to go with Tank. And I'm a big fan of Shakur Stevenson too. It was the same thing with Teofimo Lopez, being 15-0 and going up and fighting Lomachenko. A lot of people were like, "Oh, who has he fought?" They were underrating him, but I see a lot of the similarities in Shakur Stevenson that I saw in Teofimo Lopez. I just think the natural instincts that Shakur Stevenson has, just the way he can just react, his reaction time in there. People talk about timing, and a lot of what has to do with timing is knowing and anticipating what your opponent's going to do and getting ahead of what he's doing. So in other words, if he's going to go to his right, before he goes to his right, you start your step, to your left before he can get there. All right. That's all anticipation. That's what timing is. But reaction time is just a natural gift that you have. It's like when you're driving a car and someone stops short in front of you, how quick you can hit your brake so you don't hit that person. That's just your natural reflexes. And Shakur Stevenson, along with Teofimo Lopez, they have that just special gift where they can react to whatever's happening in front of them, split second, turn on the dime. And that's what just makes them so talented in my opinion. And I agree with you 110% with the eye test with Shakur Stevenson. Granted, he doesn't have the resume that some of these other guys have, but the eye test just kind of overrules that in this situation.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of great matchups here. Anybody have anything else to add before we go to the next topic here?
Yeah, you know what? I just want to add Raymond Ford. Raymond Ford looks like an outstanding prospect in 2021. He just recently fought, and you want to talk about a guy who's explosive. Raymond Ford could be making big noise in that division, 130 this year.
And one more thing too is I'm very impressed with Chris Colbert too. He's a really good fighter. I like him a lot.
They fought the same weekend.
I wanted to ask the panel and anyone out there in the chat though if they've known anything about Kenichi Ogawa. I mean, we saw him fight Tevin Farmer. It was a split decision fight on HBO. I think it was like 2.5 years ago, maybe. I thought he was a pretty good lightweight. He's still fighting out there, so I'd like to see him mix it up too. But I just haven't seen him in the States since a Farmer fight.
Yeah, I thought that was a good fight, but I thought Farmer clearly won that fight. I didn't think it should have been a split decision, but he's a tough kid. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely tough. I actually think he'd be a good test for a lot of these guys at 130.
He's a rugged, durable guy that just keeps coming forward. He's not the quickest, most talented guy in the world, but he's solid.
Yep.
All right. Look, this is my next question for the panel. Who will have a breakout year in 2021? Now, which boxer is going to stand out? You know what I mean? Well, what fighter's going to be like, whoa, I've arrived? Start with you, Beeb. Who's going to have the breakout year this year? And just to all the panel, give me one name. Don't throw 20 names at me.
I'm going to give you one name, but I'm going to give you an honorable mention.
Sure.
Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia is going to have a breakout. He's going to have a breakout year. But Shakur Stevenson is also going to have a breakout year. But I just think Ryan Garcia has bigger names in front of him than Shakur Stevenson does.
And by the way, to the chat as well. Okay, I know a lot of you guys are all over there. Here's my question for you. Okay, all your beefs and arguments, put them aside for now. Here's my question: who's going to have a breakout year in 2021, in your opinion? Okay,
Ryan Garcia.
So Christina Cruz, who does she have in a breakout year? Male or female, by the way?
Male. I'm gonna go with Shakur Stevenson. He wants it. He's calling people out, and he just has all the skills to be able to do it. But like he said as well with Ryan Garcia's following and the way he promotes himself, he's gonna make himself big this year.
Okay, all right, sounds good. 408, talk to us. Who's gonna have a breakout year 2021?
I'm gonna go with my boy Xander Zayas. I think he nailed 6 fights in just a little over a year, and I think he's going to make a big noise in the welterweight division this year. My first choice would have been Edgar Berlanga, but I think some people would argue that he already had a breakout year this year. He's already becoming a big name, so I'm going to go with my boy Xander Zayas.
Black and Brown in the chat says Senisa Estrada. And let me tell you something. She's a problem, okay? A lot of you just don't know yet. You know what I mean?
He's a problem.
Yeah. Christine Lopez, I apologize. Talk to me. Who's going to have a breakout year? Male or female?
I love Xander. Well, I love Xander too. He's doing amazing. But for me, it's going to be Virgil Ortiz. I believe that he is De La Hoya's pet and favorite, and he hasn't gotten the fight. He's called out a lot of people. I mean, he's called out Errol Spence. He's called out Crawford. He's Maurice Hooker. He's called out a lot of people. He's ready to fight too, and I think that he is going to be pushed for 2021, and he's going to show what he's made of.
All right, there you go. Well, what about female fighter? Like, what female fighter is going to have a breakout year?
Female fighter, Franchon Cruz just came back, and she fought on the Ryan Garcia fight after, all the scandal and everything that was going on when Jimenez was on PEDS. And she stayed so positive, so hungry, and I really believe that this is going to be her year.
All right. Awesome. Okay. Melkar, talk to us.
Well, you've limited me to one D style, so it's a little tough.
Well, one male, one female. There you go.
Well,
And you can have, I guess, be pro president, so you could do an honorable mention as well.
I was gonna say the son
I
of
limit it because we got a lot of people that we can't like have one person give all the names. You know what I mean?
Just do your
Good.
first place. Do your first place, and then do your second place. We'll let you do that. How's that?
Okay, so I mean, I think it's hard to say that the winner of the Ramirez, otherwise known as Mamirez, Josh Taylor fight is not going to be a breakout star. I mean, we're talking about a person who's going to come out of that as an undisputed champ and should be catapulted to superstardom. So I definitely say that's a breakout year. I was going to say Tim Tszyu, son of a legend. But also, I'd like to see Maurice Braekhus get some credit, man. He's been doing this thing for years, and it's gone like totally overlooked. The guy only loss was Alexander Usyk, and I just don't think the dude gets that much respect. You never see him on any kind of list. Nobody ever talks about him. So if he can get a big fight this year, maybe a unification fight, and beat a guy like the Congolese guy, Makabu, who I think is also good, I'd like to see him kind of break out.
Okay. All right. I could see that. Hey, far away, who's your female? Really quick.
Oh, I'm a big supporter of Franchon. I was there when she won her first belt, and I heard that she did really good, even though I don't think they televised her fight with the Ryan thing.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, Grape Drank says, I can see Eric Salubin having a breakout year. All right, absolutely. Shoot, you know. Hey, talk to me, Chief Funky was gonna have a breakout year. I know you're breaking out in like debates, but other than that, a breakout year fighter. Go ahead.
Man, there's a lot of people that could have breakout years. Virgil Ortiz is one. Also,
one.
Just one.
Just don't break the rule, bro. Come on, bro.
All right.
Just give me one or two.
Then I guess I would go with him. But there's a ton of fighters out there, man, that could.
We'll have a discussion about the rest in a little bit, but you know. But go ahead. Female fighter, breakout.
Female fight, I'm going to say McCaskill. That's my girl, man. I think she's going to shock the world again and beat Berchelt and do big things, man.
Nah. Back to back? Nah.
Yep.
That was a fluke.
When are you going to stop betting against G Funky's picks? Come on, the kid just bought a new house with his picks.
Tell him, B. Tell him.
Absolutely.
You don't want to listen. You don't want to listen.
Absolutely. Check it out. Okay. Breakout year for females. I think Makilla Mayer is going to have a breakout year. You know,
It's a good one.
I think she's going to have the fights that she wants to get. She's just got to get in the ring with her. And people ain't like it. Look, let me tell you something. I like heel Makilla Mayer. I really do. You know what I mean? Look, people get all like, I don't know, man. I don't know if she's doing it on purpose or not, but it's working. You know, like she tweeted out that Europeans don't know how to jab, and they lost their shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Writers from like all these writers from all these websites were tweeting out like, what is she talking about? Did she ever see Stern fight? What about Kovalev? He has a jab, and like calm down. All right. How about this? You want to show her you got a jab? All those female fighters in the UK, get in the ring with her and show her that. How about that? You want to show her you got a jab? Jab her in the face and tell her afterwards. Till then, if she out jabs you in the ring, too fucking bad, okay? I don't want to hear all this crying, okay? Oh, but I can't believe she said that. She said that UK insults are lame.
Yeah, she's pissing off a lot of people.
She's good
you
at
have
it.
two
She's good.
options. You could go cry about it, okay? Or you could do something about it, okay? Like, what are you gonna do about it? Like, so she's saying that you UK fighters can't fight. What are you gonna do about it? Right? It's boxing. We're talking shit here, okay?
Yeah,
so all I
good.
know is this, man, okay? I wanted to come out and say that the UK is a third world country just to see what they do. You know what I mean? 'Cause they're gonna lose their shit. You know, they're gonna tweet out, "This is my bank account." It's not. People get mad. Writers get mad, and like all these people get mad, right? But so I think she'll have a breakout year, and I think she, you know, she's the one fighter that Top Rank is investing in as far as females. And you know, I think she made the right choice signing with them. They'll get her some fights. I really do believe that. So that's female. Male, I mean, Christine Lopez stole it from me. She must have stolen my notes. Or something.
I was
But
looking.
it's going to be Virgil Ortiz here. He's going to have that breakout year. All right.
Mhm.
Honorable mention: as good as the year was of Teofimo 2020, he might have a better year in 2021. Okay, the way they're talking. Okay, because you know who I believe? I believe the ones that are actually fighting the top fighters, not the ones talking about doing it. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I believe. At the end of the day. Right, simple as
Mhm.
that. I'm not going to debate back and forth with nonsense. I'm just going to tell you how it is. Okay, now, Katie Tater. I mean, I don't know if she already had a breakout year. You know what I mean? She's already making over $1 million. I think she's good. You know what I mean? But
Love Katie Taylor.
Can
that's
I
why.
say my?
Yes.
I didn't get to. So just like you said, I think Michaela is gonna have her breakout year. That's if top rank gets her the fights that she needs. I know. I don't feel like they've been pushing her the way they need to push her, but she's doing a great job over social media, pissing everyone off. And I think because of that,
Yes.
she's gonna get the fights that she needs, and she's just gonna jab them away.
Yep. I agree.
Absolutely. And now, if anybody wants to throw out some other names, go ahead. Now's the time.
I would
What are
like to
some
throw out a couple of guys around my area. Xavier Martinez at 130. He's getting close to the top 10. Had a good fight where he got knocked down a couple of times, got up to win a fight. Also, Gabe Flores Jr., who's going to be fighting on the undercard of Berchelt Valdez. A couple of guys I'm keeping my eyes on. Also, Boots Ennis. There's a lot of guys. Shakur Stevenson obviously is looking to have a big year. So, yeah, Tim Tszyu also. I like what I've seen from that kid.
I like Tim Tszyu a lot. Okay. Cenis Estrada is another one you could have a breakout year as well. So, who else you guys got? That's it?
I think Julio Cesar Martinez is up for a breakout year. I think he's laid the groundwork for it in his past few fights. I'd like to see him get a unification fight at 112. I think he's got in line for a breakout year.
Can I ask a question, or will that throw off the flow of the show?
Go ahead. Ask.
Or you want me to wait till the end of the show to ask it?
Oh, go ahead.
I got a great question. What do you guys think the biggest fight of the year in terms of magnitude is going to be in 2021? What mega fight do you think will actually happen in the year 2021?
Fury Joshua.
Yeah. Too.
Think that's going to happen, even though the mediation is still going on?
They didn't accept the force majeure argument, B. I mean,
the mediation is still going on, though.
I mean, maybe you'll have to step in and make the argument to the arbiter.
Yeah, probably will happen. At the very least, it's going to happen at the end of the year. If not,
absolutely.
If not in the spring. Okay.
You know what? I think if Daniel Jacobs and Rosado rematch each other, now that's a fight that could translate. No. Honestly, look, I think whoever Canelo unifies and becomes undisputed against will be the biggest event of 2021.
Bigger than the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world?
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to fight, bro. I don't think the fight's going to happen. I don't think we're going to see Joshua versus Fury.
Oh, you're being a Debbie
I would like to
today.
see
What's
another
going on?
Fury Wilder. I would like to see another Fury Wilder. I would. I mean, all the excuses, all this and that. I would like to see it again.
I want to see it too, Christine. I was going back and forth with it, but I kind of want to see it now.
Yeah, I want to see that again.
I do too.
Well, what about for women's boxing? Well, what's the biggest fight that will happen this year? What do you guys think for women's boxing?
Wow.
Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor.
Ooh, okay. That's
a
a
good
good
one.
fight.
That needs
I
to
have
happen.
a somewhat of a fantasy one because Clarissa Shields had fought Hannah Gabriels, and she got dropped. She had never been dropped before, and I would love to see that rematch. I know it's a fantasy because Clarissa's moving on, and I know that Hannah had come down to fight her, so I don't know, but that I would love to see that rematch.
Okay. That's a big deal. All right.
D-Style, going back to honorable mentions for breakout years. Nobody mentioned Boots Ennis, and I think
mentioned
Oh,
him.
you did. Okay, perfect. Because I think he's just as dangerous as Virgil Ortiz. I don't want to see those guys fight for a while. I'd like to see them clean out some of the welterweights that have been there for a while. They're part of that new crop of the new era of fighters that are most likely going to be world champions any day now.
Right. Since people want to kind of push this, does anybody here think that like Haney has a better resume than Teofimo Lopez?
0.
No.
Laughing, right?
No.
Okay, we'll put that to rest. Okay. Now,
His win is Gamboa.
Lopez has 4 wins better than him. How about we talk about who Haney needs to fight? It's time for Haney to step up and fight a live body. All right?
Yeah.
So let's have respect for the show, and then let's talk about the topics on the show. All right? Let's move on. All right, now, Lopez Sr., he did talk, guys, by the way. 140, just really quick. At 140, he put a warning out to Josh Taylor against Ramirez, and, it kind of goes to what you mentioned, Beep. So what if Teofimo Lopez moves up, and fights one of those guys? That would be a big fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love it.
Is that a fight that you guys like?
Well,
Well, what about Josh Taylor against Ramirez? That's another fight. That's another potential big fight.
I
Big
think
fight.
Taylor would beat Ramirez. I've seen some fundamental flaws in him, and I think Taylor would beat him.
Okay.
I think
what else
that
could
fight
be
will
a-
happen.
I forgot to mention the guy earlier, but Charlo at 154 could have a big year too if he could get his hands on Teixeira to get undisputed. That'd be a big fight too for boxing, for the hardcore fans, to see undisputed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of McCaskill, Braekhus 2. I'm just curious who you got, because I understand that McCaskill beat Braekhus, right, the first time. I think Braekhus probably overlooked her. All right, she was probably due a loss. She was going through a long streak, but I don't know. I have a feeling she's going to make some adjustments. I think she's going to box more this time, and not be as aggressive ranks. And I think she's going to outbox Braekhus.
She's got
I
one
think
foot out. She's got one foot out the door. I don't think she wants it anymore.
You think she would have signed the fight again if she don't want it no more? You don't think she
Yeah.
would have called it a day?
Yep. Yep. People
So
sign
we're
for
gonna go. Well, we're gonna go around the round table, but I just wanted to kind of present that, right? But let's start with you, Beeb. How do you see the rematch?
I got to go with McCaskill. I don't think Braekhus wants it anymore. Subconsciously, in the back of her mind, she's not going to take it. She's not going to go to places that she would have to go when things get down and dirty. I just think that she's at a point now where she's getting older. She's had a pretty long career. She's been on top for a long time, and sometimes the crown is heavy at the top, and you can't hold that crown too long. It gives you headaches. It's too heavy sometimes. I think she's ready to pass. I think she's ready to 100% fully pass the torch.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. All right.
It's
I mean, that's your opinion.
The rematch is a formality.
All right.
Well, everything I said tonight is my opinion. Just to be on the record.
All right. I don't agree with that. I think that she's a fighter, and a fighter is never going to hang it up. I think she's going to adjust for the next if they do fight again. I actually didn't know much about McCaskill until I saw her fight her. She's a feisty one, and I think she's going to bring it even harder as well. So it's going to be very interesting to watch. But I think Cecilia, I think she does want it, and that's why she's going to resign, and she's going to prove everyone wrong.
All right. Okay. Chief Funky, you're gonna double down? Is that what you're gonna do? Double or nothing in the rematch?
Well, as a good friend to you, D Style, I tried to warn you the first time. I tried to give you a warning to tell you that
I
she
scored
was
it for
coming
Braekhus,
it.
by the way. I'm just saying. Go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? She was coming for her, and I told you guys that she was going to win, and she ends up winning, man. I think she's going to win again. Yeah, I agree with Beeb, man. I think that she's ready to call it a career, and no shame in that, man. She's had a great career, She's done some great things for female boxing, but it's always time to move on, and I think it's that time. And I think McCaskill is going to beat her again. I really do.
Man,
She was
y'all hating hard, man.
she was already talking about retirement before the first fight. Come on. She already had her vacation home picked out and everything for the first fight. All right, she already bought some nice bikinis for the Bahamas before the first fight. So please, we already know what the mentality was. You think it's going to change overnight? Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right. What about you, Christine? Right? How do you see the rematch? Will Braekhus, get her belts back, her undisputed? What is that? By the way, okay, very disrespectful by the WBC. She was undisputed for all this time, and then when she gets beat, they give McCaskill, and I'm not hating on McCaskill, but they give her the quote unquote like the one that the men have, WBC belts. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but she's the one that did the hard work. She's the one that collected the belts. Okay, now the
Right.
female Phenos wants to get her stones back.
Yeah.
Well, how do you see it, though?
I think that Braekhus has a lot more tricks up her sleeve. She's a veteran. She knows how to use her ring. She knows, how to win. I think she did, underestimate McCaskill. And in the rematch, I'm gonna go like y'all are gonna be like, okay, but I'm gonna say it's gonna be a draw.
Oh,
So she'll keep the belt. That's not fair.
You got to bet on that.
Not fair. It's not
gotta
fair.
bet on that.
It's not fair. But you know what? Now, McCaskill is the queen. So how's the judging gonna go?
She ain't the queen yet. It's
Well,
good because she still has the
she's
ring
got all the
belt.
belts
You know
right
what I mean? She's got the ring belt. The ring belt wasn't on the line. She ain't there yet. But 408, talk to us.
Yo, I'm going to disagree with my co-host Philly Irish Drew Evil in the chat. I think McCaskill's going to win this one. My camera just went dead, so but I'm going to go with what Joe Beef said and Parrot said that, and put up my camera back on for you guys.
No problem. Hey, a Milcar. Will McCaskill, prove that this was not a fluke, or will she get beat this time? Can Braekhus and how important do you think this is for Braekhus?
I don't think it's a fluke anytime a 39-year-old athlete loses to another elite athlete. I mean, I'm getting up there in age. I feel creaky and achy, and it's not what it was when I was in my early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s.
Where do you get to your 50s?
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Where do you get to your 50s? You won't be able to move. You'll run a full court basketball game and wake up the next morning and take a bottle of Advil.
There you go. So, I mean, at this point, it's got to be tough to be Cecilia. I mean, to me, the best thing about Cecilia is her story. I mean, it's an amazing story. A black orphan in Colombia, adopted, moves to Norway, a place where boxing is banned. She has to start her career in another country. There's all of these tremendous things in boxing, bringing, notoriety and whatnot and attention to the women's game. But, at this point, it's like she's 39 years old. She's got to figure something else out to do. And I don't really like her chances in the rematch.
I don't know, Milcar. I think you just described what could be a perfect story. A perfect comeback. Like everything. It's like a movie waiting to happen.
I'd like to see her do it. Don't get me wrong.
Manny Pacquiao beat Keith Thurman. He was in his 40s. You know what I mean? It's like, let me tell you something. Personally, I don't know if I'm in the minority or not. I scored it for Braekhus. I scored the fight for her. Okay, I felt the fight could have gone either way, personally. I think the fact that McCaskill did better than people expected, maybe any 50-50 round, when it's a fight like that, people are going to give it to the person that did more than they thought they would. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not complaining. It could have gone either way, right? But I just feel like it's, to me personally, I feel like with the right adjustments, and if she doesn't fight as aggressively from the beginning, she could win that fight. That's just how I feel about it.
Guess what? Remember I told you about how BoxRec has the fan scores?
Yeah.
Guess what they scored that fight for? They scored it
for Braekhus.
They scored it for Braekhus. The fan scorecards scored it for Braekhus. So we have to give you respect on your scorecard. I had it 96-94 for McCaskill, though. I had it, but it was a very close fight. There's no question about it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Even I
And
can
again,
admit that. Even I can admit that. I know D-Style doesn't want to give McCaskill the credit, but it's all good,
no,
baby.
no.
I
Of
see
course,
you.
she gets credit. Like she gets credit because she won. And like I said, you're not crazy if you score for McCaskill, right? But I heard too much like, oh, he dominated her, and like I don't know why people are so confident that she's gonna win a rematch. I just don't know. You know what I mean? Like I think she's gonna come back and win the rematch, man. Like kind of like remember like when Mora, Mr. Checkhook Mora, right?
I
Beat Vernon.
love it.
Remember when he beat Vernon Forrest, and like yeah, he won, but we kind of knew like in the rematch it wasn't gonna happen again. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah,
That's a
I
good
have
point.
that same feeling.
it is a good point.
That's a really good point right there.
The other
But
thing too is
but
she
there's
got
one,
so sorry, go ahead, Joe.
there's one thing you're overlooking.
Mhm.
Braekhus already got her tickets for Disneyland after this fight, so that's why I think she's going to be heading out there.
Celebrate,
One
celebrate.
thing
You know
I
what I mean?
would
To celebrate her
say,
victory. Well, where do champions go after they go to Disneyland? You know what I mean? Like, where are you going after you win now? To Disneyland. You know what I mean? And that's it, right? Anybody have anything else to add before we go to the last topic?
yeah, I was just gonna say that she'd been used to winning for so long. I mean, it was her first professional loss, so you never know. This might, ignite a last big effort for her if she doesn't want to end her career with a loss. So she's got some motivation there.
I wonder what the odds for this fight are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Be interesting.
Okay. Somebody mentioned Nate Campbell in the chat, and speaking of Nate Campbell, I want to talk about women rounds, and I want to start with you, Christina, right?
Okay.
Because the women they only get 2 minutes, the men get 3, and I want your perspective with that. Like would you rather women get more minutes or the same amount, that is 3 minutes like the men, and also 12 rounds just like the men, or do you like it just the way it is?
No, I believe that they should be fighting 3 minutes. Coming out of the amateurs, we fight minute rounds, so I don't see why they would do it that way. I think it's one of the reasons why um, women's boxing is being held back as well. The rounds are so short. I spar with pros all the time, and when I spar them, we're doing 2 minute rounds, and I'm like, what the heck? I didn't even get to throw a combination. But I think it needs to be changed for the sport of women's boxing.
Okay, the rounds as well, you think they should
Rounds,
championship?
rounds as well. Rounds as well. If you're gonna fight for equality, why not make it equal, right?
So because I want to kind of give you some and take advantage of the fact that you're here, right? Not to put you on the spot, but
Yeah.
you fight for a living, so you have a
Yeah.
great perspective, right? So a lot of active, and I've noticed this. It's usually like with the female fighter, even like Braekhus. I've heard her say, like, "I ain't gonna fight 3 minutes unless you pay me more." Like that seems to be the attitude, right? I want more money if you're gonna make me fight more time, right? But like that's not quite like you don't clock in and then clock out about it. It's not like an hourly job. That's not quite how it works. But
Right.
what do you say to that? Like to women that want to, they don't want it unless they get paid more.
I think if they want the sport to grow, they need to change it, and they just need to accept that that is one of the reasons why people don't want to watch women's boxing. They want to see longer rounds. They want to see more knockouts, and I think that's what we have to do in that sport in order to get the attention we need.
Okay, all right. Christine Lopez, you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, you know my views. I totally agree with everything that Christina said. And I guess my question is, who or the up and coming women, they're going to be the pioneers and say, you know what, I want the 3 minutes and I want to do, the 4 to 6, 8, 10, 12, but pay me what I'm worth as I grow, because we have to crawl before we walk. And if we want that, there has to be pioneers that are willing to say, okay, you know, pay me this and then we'll talk. So of course there has to be better contracts. There has to be better TV time. These promoters have to get on board, and then eventually they will get the money like the men. I agree, because they'll be fighting the 3 minutes, and you will see the knockouts. In 2 minutes, you can't do anything. You know, how many women have we seen that have been saved by the bell? You know, after 2 minutes.
Right.
You know, but that's what I think.
So I want to take it back to Christina here because, like, this comment says, I like the 2 minute rounds. It makes for more action, and that is one of the positives people say about women's boxing. That there's a lot of action. But in your opinion, and from like you sparred a lot of even pros, right? So
Right.
is that true? Is the action going to go away just because it goes to 3 minutes? Like,
I'm probably the worst person to ask that question because I'm a boxing romantic. The way I fight is very artistic and scientific. So I like to be able to have those longer rounds to be able to show my actual skill rather than going in there and just doing this, you know?
Right.
So yeah, that's my opinion.
Hey, fair enough. Beeb, you got it, like another perspective now. Well, how do you feel about it? Like 2 minute rounds, 3 minute rounds?
I go to the bathroom and the round is over, so I would rather have me 3. You know what I mean? It's too quick. Can't even go to the refrigerator to get a freaking Diet Pepsi. Round's over before I get back to the couch. So I need 3 minutes, kid.
Okay. 408.
You know, I think it's a disservice to female boxing because even professional MMA, they don't have short rounds like that. If they want to produce more action in the sense of seeing devastating knockouts, they got to let the female athletes get going. You know, just like they were saying, the fight's barely 2 minutes is just not enough time to generate that damage.
Chief Funky, talk to us. Do you feel more convinced that they should go to 3 minutes?
I don't know, man. I mean, there's always pros and cons to everything. I think, you know, obviously the cons that we all have with the 2 minute rounds that they're too fast. And really, I mean, to be quite honest, women's boxing is really hard to score. You know, like if it goes a distance, like as the rounds are so short, there's so much action. You know, the women, they really go in there and they throw their hands a lot because they know they don't have a lot of time. But then the pace might slow, and then that might make the action not so good if it goes to another minute. But then maybe they get more knockouts too if it's 3 minute rounds. I mean, there's a lot of variables, man. But I don't know, man. I really don't know at this point, man. I mean, 3 minutes sounds good, but I don't know if it'll really work out for them, you know?
Okay. All right. Milcar, talk to us.
Well, I think like anything, you got to engage in like some testing and some experimentation before you go to something all the way in. So I think maybe what they should do is, you know, throw out a few fights, 3 rounds, see how it goes, see if there are any changes, see how they're judged. And based on those results, you know, maybe we could roll it out permanently. I don't know. I've never seen really a professional women's fight that's 3 rounds. So it's something I'd like to see.
There are, if 2 fighters agree to do that in the contract, there has been fights where there were 3 minute rounds.
Didn't
Fighters have to agree.
Didn't Sinisa Estrada do it before?
Yeah.
I think Sinisa did it. I think Marlon has done it. I think
Yeah.
as well. Maybe in the past have done it.
I got a stupid question for the women on the panel.
Uh-oh.
So when you go to gyms and you know they have the timer for the rounds. When the females trained, because most gyms you go to, obviously they're 3 minute rounds, right? The timer. Do you train 3 minute rounds in the gym, or do you adjust the timer?
Okay. I train 3 minute rounds because I fight 3 minute rounds. So I'm an Olympic style boxer and we fight 3 minute rounds.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we're fighting six fights in 1 week. So we're doing 18 rounds and they're all 3 minutes, just like men. The only thing we haven't done with female boxing in the amateurs yet is take off our headgear. But as far as time, it's the same. So I train with 3 minutes, but I have sparred with pros and they would not agree with me to spar me 3 minute rounds. They always want to do 2 minute rounds and they have their reasons.
So you have to
That
adjust.
sounds like so backwards.
So the way I do it is what I would do is I would have 2 sparring partners for that sparring. So I would spar the 2 minute rounds against the pro, and then I'll bring someone right after the pro gets out, and then I do another extra 3 rounds for 3 minutes, just so that it benefits me.
So you would have to reset the timer then to spar with the pros.
Yeah, reset.
So no female pro has ever agreed to spar you 3-minute rounds.
No, there has been, but there are.
Okay.
So I know Maureen Shea. I know she spars 2-minute rounds, and she has her reasons why. Scientifically, I've never really heard her talk about it, but I was told. And then some other fighters as well.
Okay. I just sound so backwards to me. Like at the pro is like, nah, 2 minutes, we're good.
Right.
You know, but yeah, and I'm sure, you know, they just want to get used to that. Christine, did you want to add to that? I know you work with a lot of amateurs.
Yeah, I work with amateurs and pros, and they're not all pros do that. Like, we have had pros come in and they'll do the 3 minutes, but then there are some. For me, there's been less that want the 2 minutes than the 3. You know, they want to go the 3. They want to make sure their conditioning's up. You know, they want to, you know, work. And then they know that our amateurs, you know, do the 3 minutes. So, but there have been 1 or 2, but usually they'll do the 3 minutes in my experience.
Okay. That's what I was wondering if, and I was talking from a pro perspective, if the pros would do it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Here's what I need to say, guys. And I think, look, I used to be that boxing fan, just being transparent and honest, right? Like, I used to be that boxing fan that didn't watch the women fight. You know what I mean? I don't want to see women all bloody, and it's just, you know, it's how I was raised and all that. But, you know, just over time, you know, I just started catching, especially in this new age where there's so much boxing available now. Like, we have more boxing available on TV or apps now than ever before, right? Mm-hmm. And credit to Eddie Hearn, he has put on a lot of women boxing and on the zone. And when I saw that Pursuit Tater fight, I don't give a shit if there was no knockout. That was a great fight. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a knockout in the Barrera Morales fights either, guys. And those were amazing fights.
Facts.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So like we just gotta like here's the thing. Even in the men, okay, it's a well-known fact. Like, the higher you go in weight class, the more knockouts you see, and the lower you go in weight class, okay, the less knockouts you see. But the pace is faster, right? The lower you go in weight class, slower weight class. People stopped watching heavyweights for so long that when they finally put them back on TV, people were wondering where the hell's the action. I go, I don't know, that's how heavyweights fight. You know what I mean? They don't fight like the welterweights you've been watching, okay, the last few years. Okay, so women are naturally smaller than men, right? So I don't even think, I haven't looked it up. I don't think the knockout ratio would be that different with featherweight men as featherweight women. And if it is, I don't think it's as big of a ratio as you guys think. I just don't. Okay?
True.
Guys like Inoue are an anomaly. Like, those guys, like Neri, that's an anomaly. Those are special punchers for those weight classes. We don't really see that in those weight classes like that, right? A lot of my favorite fighters, man, Benito Lopez, they weren't known for being knockout artists. Benito Lopez was in the minimum weight, but he was a scientific fighter. But in those weight classes, they don't knock people out, right? And if you look, and you don't got to take my word for it, just go to BoxRec and go to the rankings, okay, or the ratings, right? In the women's, it's the opposite with the women. In the men, it's kind of like from lightweight to welterweight, there's like 2,000 participants, like fighters, right? And then when you go all the way to heavyweight, it's about 1,000, okay? But when you go down to like flyweight and super flyweight or minimum weight, as you go down like that, bantamweight, okay, there's only a couple hundred men, right? Less than 1,000. Why? Because we're naturally bigger as men compared to the women. With the women, it's the opposite. Clarissa Shields is fighting a division with just 20 women, right? But Katie Taylor's fighting a division with almost 200 women, right? And the lower you go, then it becomes more than that, right? When you go to where Sinisa Estrada's at, there's more talent there. It's a larger talent pool, right? So because of that, we're not going to have a lot of females looking like Mike Tyson knocking dudes out. Like, we're just not going to have that. You're living in a fantasy world. Like you're not going to have a lot of like 200-pound women like that. Okay, for the cruiserweight division, you're not going to have a lot of light heavyweight women. Even like boxing is a sport where you got to get in shape. Okay, I mean it's not possible to be a slob and box like that. So in shape women, you're not going to see a lot of them boxers at 175 pounds. From middleweight down, you're going to see an increase in the talent pool. And even in the men, you don't see knockouts like that. Mayweather didn't knock anybody out for like 10 years. Pacquiao wasn't knocking out dudes. When's the last time Pacquiao knocked a dude smooth out since had it?
That's what I was just going to say. The hypocrisy of the hypocrisy of this argument, because you have Mayweather and Pacquiao, who were the two highest earning boxers of the last decade, and they did not have a lot of knockouts at welterweight.
You guys are forgetting about the Victor Ortiz knockout, though, guys. It was a great knockout.
That was his only knockout at welterweight.
Well, anybody's can knock anybody out like that, you know what I mean? But
right?
Like, let me hit you like that, Joe. Like, just put your hands down, look away. You know what I mean? But hey, this has been a great panel, a great show. We'll take it around for final thoughts. Joe Habib, tell everybody where they can find you and give us some final thoughts.
Find me on YouTube at Ringside Reporter Live, and Joe Habib on Facebook, Joe Habib1 on Twitter, and yeah, I think the young Lions are in position to really make a statement for 2021. Let's just hope the politics of boxing does not ruin this beautiful lightweight division like it's starting to ruin the welterweight division. Hopefully, these young guys will end up fighting each other. And I'll be curious to see if Teofimo Lopez does fight that one more time at lightweight before moving up to 140, because they have been saying that it's not easy for him to make lightweight. So I'm curious to see what he does next.
All right. 408, give us some tell everybody where they can find you and give us some final thoughts.
Yeah, they can find me right here at the Leave It in the Ring Network. My show's on rotation, so make sure to get on Pandora, one of the many ways they can listen to our shows. Thank you for having me on the panel tonight. I'm anxiously awaiting the vaccine for the coronavirus, because I can't wait to get invited back into gyms and to attend live events. Honestly, really, there's too many people out there getting sick, and I'm anxiously awaiting getting vaccinated and being able to be part of the community in real life again. This is great, but I want to see fights in person again. So this is going to be a tremendous year, whether or not the seats are filled. There's just so much new talent, and thank you guys for having me tonight.
Absolutely. Milcar, tell everybody where they can find you and give us some final thoughts.
Yeah, you can find me at Maestro Amilcar on Twitter, and this channel's Maestro A. I'm going to be putting up some stuff this weekend, and always a pleasure to chop it up with the round table. Really nice to meet you today, Christina Cruz. It was a pleasure. And really nice to see you again, Christina Lopez. Also always a pleasure. Honestly, it's the only time in the week where I actually enjoy sitting on the computer and staring at a screen, because we're doing everything remotely right now, and that obviously kind of sucks. So great show. Thanks again, D-Style. Thanks everybody in the chat, and I hope to see you all again next week.
Absolutely. Chief Funky, tell everybody where they can find it and give us some final thoughts.
Well, you can find me here. The link to my channel is in the chat if you want to subscribe. You can also find me on Twitter at gfunky84. And this has been great, man. It's always good to talk boxing with you guys and everybody in the chat as well. Let's keep this thing rolling, man. We got a couple weeks off, but we got some good fights to look forward to already, like when Valdez beats Berchelt. I'm out.
Absolutely. Christine Lopez, give us some final thoughts and tell everybody where they can find you.
So everything is In the Ring with Christine, Podatron Network, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We'll just keep it simple. It's always a pleasure to be on this panel. I mean, I love learning from y'all and hearing your opinions, and some I agree with, some I don't. And of course, obviously, it was great to have Christina here. She is an amazing boxer. If y'all have not checked her out, you have to. Puerto Rican Olympic team. Inside and out of the ring, she's amazing. So I'm really glad to see her.
Absolutely. And Christina Cruz, tell everybody, what's going on with you. What are your plans in the boxing world? And give us some final thoughts.
So I am shooting for the Olympics. I'm already on the Puerto Rican Olympic team. Still have to qualify my spot at Continentals in May. So really looking forward to that. Feel real confidence. All you guys better follow me because I think you would love my style. Yeah, and you can find. D-Style, thank you for having me on the show. I didn't know how much I could contribute, but I feel good about it. And you guys have me wanting to look into more fighters in the pros, so I'm really excited about that. And you can find me on Instagram. That's what I'm on most. Christina Cruz Box, and just follow my journey to the Olympics.
Well, there you go, guys. Follow her journey to the Olympics and, representing Puerto Rico. You know what I mean? We definitely got to get you back on. I think you contribute a lot.
Just to let you guys know a little about me, I used to be on Team USA. I was on Team USA from 2007 to 2020. I was chosen as Olympic alternate for Team USA, but I could not settle for that, so I went to the homeland.
Yeah, you want to participate in the big show. You want to get that medal. So
let's go.
Well, there you go. Do you know if you'll turn pro at some point, or is that something you don't know yet?
It's people give me shit about it all the time. It's never been a dream for me to turn pro. If I did, it would be just because I can. But the goal is gold medal at the 2020 Olympics.
Gold medal at the Olympics. There you go. You
No,
can't complain about that.
It would be exciting to watch in the pros, but we'll see.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, guys. I appreciate everybody, and everyone's always welcome back here on the round table. Thank you again, Christina Cruz. It's been great. Thank you to everybody. This is D-Style Boxing. Keep it boxing. We're out of here. Peace.
Thanks.